Was having myself a little thinky wink while, well, I refused to disclose the nature of my predicament. Well, technically not a predicament. Moving on. So I was thinking, at what point in a bottomless pit do you actually die? Well, I guess that highly depends. Um, I mean, if it's a bottomless pit, obviously you never stop falling, right? Unless it's like the one from Gravity Falls, where, eventually you just go right back out the top, right? Well, let's say in this case you just never stop falling, and and that's the end of it, ironically. um, well, there's a few things that could kill you. Number one, well, there's obviously starvation or dehydration. That might be a lot faster, actually. Or hell, maybe some other stuff is in there with you. Whether it's a monster crawling around along the walls of the hole, or I don't know. Or hell, maybe you might kill yourself while you're down there. Just again, hypothetically speaking. Or what if it's like or what if it's, I don't know. What if there was like a thing that sort of extracts your life force on the way down, and and now your body is just like this hollow husk or something, and it's. Mm, mm, mm. Ever wonder where the whole bottomless pit thing came from? There's probably some lore behind that or whatever, but I like to think that I don't know. I like to think it came from. Okay, so picture this. So two guys are just hanging out, and suddenly they find a really deep hole. It's so deep that it's like dark, and they can't see the bottom. And they're thinking, "Man, I can't even see the bottom. Must be a bottomless pit." And hey, that's how they got the name. Okay, but seriously though, imagine how do you think they would have tested that, anyways? Like, there's a few things you might see in media, like if a character comes across a really deep hole or a gorge or a pit or whatever, they'll usually just throw something down there and wait for a sound, like followed by a little slide. Like beforehand, there's like a little slide whistle sound effect. You know the one. You know the one. So I don't know. Maybe they would just like, I don't know, throw a bucket of water down there, thinking, hey, if we hear the bucket spilling over, then because like I don't know, that might be more noticeable than just because if they just throw a rock down there, it's not going to make much noise. If it's just like a dirt hole. Yeah, but if they don't hear anything at all upon throwing something down there, I don't know. Hmm. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah. Actually, hold on a second. So, anyways, what were we talking about again? Oh yeah, bottomless pits. Um, okay, I think I'm done talking about the pit for now. But let's talk about. Hold on. There's a conversation I want to find. Well, I'll just recite it from memory. So, you guys ever seen like the two-headed turtles thing? Actually, pretty sure it's like, I think it's polycephaly. Oh well, whatever. Let me just look up a picture for you. Little memento. Yeah, it's something like this. Yeah. Or usually it's like other stuff. It's not always like conjoined shells. Sometimes it's just like conjoined heads like that. Little cuties. Hey, wait a minute. Is this a real photo or is this? You can never tell what's AI and what isn't nowadays. The reason I bring that up is because I remember talking to my friend Frost one time about like a hypothetical episode of Gravity Falls. The episode would go like this: Mabel finds a little baby two-headed turtle and decides to take it in as a pet. But then, well, she realizes she doesn't really know anything about how to take care of turtles properly, anyways. So, so you remember from the first episode when she's like, sorry about the noise upstairs. I don't know what's happening. Anyways, you remember in the first episode when she meets that turtle guy or tortoise guy? Hold on. I'm not. Yeah, it's this guy. Let me zoom into that. Yeah, remember this guy? Also technically it's a tortoise because he's got feeties, not flippies. It's a tortoise. Yeah. Anyways, I remember Frost suggesting to me, hey, like, maybe I want, like, okay, let me start over. Frost suggested to me, like, a hypothetical Gravity Falls episode where, Mabel finds a two-headed turtle and decides to take it in as a pet, but she realizes she doesn't know how to take care of it properly. Then she remembers this guy, who I guess she was trying to start a thing with in, like, episode 1. When she was in her, like, anyways. I guess she somehow finds him again and asks him for some tips on taking care of turtles and tortoises and whatnot. But I think, I can't remember who said this next, but, like, I just love the fact that Gravity Falls doesn't just attract, like, supernatural stuff. Like, it doesn't just attract, like, cryptids and monsters and other stuff. It attracts anything that's even slightly unusual or weird. Whether it's people with weird birthmarks, or, whether it's people with weird birthmarks, deformities, or people who are just plain weird in general. That also includes animals, especially ones born with, strange deformities, whether it's having two heads, extra limbs, etc., etc. Yeah, so I don't know. I just loved the idea that that Mabel would just happen to find a little turtle with two heads, and Plus, I love imagining there'd be a bit where, where Mabel goes up to this guy, and she's like, hey, so do you have any tips on taking care of turtles? I mean, I know you got a turtle right there, but then the guy's like, okay, common misconception, these guys are tortoise. I don't know, he just seems like the kind of guy. I mean, look at him, he's clearly a nerd of some kind. I mean, what nerd doesn't have a tortoise? Or a turtle, for that matter? I mean, Frost is a nerd, and he has turtles. Checkmate, bitch. Okay. Oh yeah, that also reminds me. So fun fact, way back then, and I mean way back then, I used to have these really big sketchbooks. I had 3 of them, and they all had these black covers. And what I would do is I would take these white crayons and I would draw you guys know the hand thing on on all of Ford's journals. I would basically try to make them look like Ford's journals, but instead of writing and drawing all the stuff in the regular journals, I would just draw my own weird monsters and creatures. One of them being a Gravity Falls cryptid I came up with called the Blurrkey. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's basically just a mysterious turkey that photobombs people and fucks up their photos, and it always makes the photos look blurry. Okay, if even the tiniest fragment of the turkey is in the photo, it'll always fuck up the photo and make it look all blurry and distorted. So, I remember thinking of, like, a short episode of Gravity Falls where it just went like this. I guess Wendy, Grenda, Mabel, Candy, and I guess her other girlfriends would get together. Actually, I think that's all of them. But anyways, Mabel and her friends would get together and try to, do like some kind of, like, some kind of like group selfie or something. But then they notice that their photos keep looking all fucked up and blurry. So they're wondering what the hell that's all about. But then they realize there's a turkey hanging around. So so they think nothing of it and just try to get back to the photo. But the photo keeps looking all screwed up. So then eventually they realize the turkey is in the photos. So I don't know. But excuse me. I had a mini pizza earlier today, so anyways. Where was I? Well, anyways, I'm not sure how it would be a fully fleshed out episode, but I know most of it would just be like, I guess if you think about it, it'd just be like a dumb Looney Tunes episode where they would just chase around the fucking Blurrkey, just just so that they can get rid of it and so that they can have their selfie together. But that just I don't know if that would actually work. Oh, another thing. Actually, I think I know where this one is. You guys ever heard of the, what do they call them? Okay, hold on. Okay, let me show you something cool. This is a little conversation that me and Frost had. Oh god, that's bright. Yeah, that is really bright. Well, anyways, Frost shared this little bit of like, fan art he found, and I was like, hey, what the heck is up with that little octopus on Dipper's head? And then, okay, this is, yeah, the screen is way too bright and blurry. Sorry about that. The message says this: I found this really cute art of Dipper and Mabel in a Pacific Northwest tree octopus. Artist is Genius B. This is a cryptid that I think would fit perfectly into the Gravity Falls universe. And actually, I'm kind of surprised it didn't appear, considering the location and subject matter. He also found this. That is fucking awesome, right? I mean, yeah, through the words of Syndrome himself, come on, you gotta admit this is cool. I mean, fucking tree octopi. That is awesome. Anyways, I then followed up with, I think Alex wanted to use original monsters, hence why there's not that many references to real life cryptids and whatnot. I mean, yeah, there is some stuff that's like derivative of certain monsters and whatnot, like like the Manitars just being Minotaurs. There's the tree giants, obviously, but okay, whatever. Moving on, but yeah, I definitely think that but it's literally in the name, like Pacific Northwest, like tree squids. Or sorry, not tree squids, tree octopuses. But like, it's likely that maybe he just didn't know about them until like after the show was done and over with. So maybe he was thinking, oh shit, wait. You told me there's a cryptid that's like freaking squids and octopi who crawl around in a tree. Why didn't I think of that? Yeah. So yeah, that would have been pretty kick-ass. But I mean, to be fair though, there are like, I think in like Journal 3 there are like you guys remember the Hoctopus? I freaking love that thing. Sad, unfortunately, according to Ford, it was quote too stupid to study, which I still think is. I mean, come on, that's bullshit. It's a fucking Cthulhu falcon. How is that not cool? Whatever. Anyways, in response to all of this, I decided, just for funsies, I would come up with a couple of, of my own hypothetical journal entries where, like, hey, well, what if Ford came across a couple of weird Oregonian mollusks of some kind? For starters, the muddy skip squids. Quote, like mud skippers, these air-breathing fellows will slither and crawl on land, wallowing themselves in the refreshing moist mud. I encountered a pair of them brawling on the bank of a pond yesterday, snapping their beaks and smacking each other with their tentacles, flashing bright and angry colors at each other like a couple of slimy peacocks. I would have taken one home for further research, but the little devils are far too slippery for me. I've tried tempting them with some toasted tuna sandwiches, but I've discovered they're just as intelligent as the average cephalopod, if not more. In other words, they grew wise to my antics very quickly and began slinging clumps of mud at me. Luckily for me, I still learned plenty about these marvelous creatures. For instance, I tried catching one by hand, but then I learned the hard way why you should always bind the tentacles. Their suction cups have razor-sharp rings. And then there's the soaring scallops. When will the Oregonian wilderness cease to amaze and confuse me? Today I encountered a new variety of mollusks. I was hunting for a octopus when I suddenly noticed half a dozen small silhouettes swinging across the towering evergreens like a platoon of primates. Out of breath there. After some tracking, I noticed several scallops clinging to the branches of the aforementioned trees with their tongues. After some climbing, I attempted to capture a specimen for further study. Before I could get close, they sensed me and unlatched their tongues, sweating down the needles before skipping off with their tongues and slipping out. Slipping out two wing-like structures that allowed them to glide far into the distance. It was a bizarre yet beautiful sight. I figured my trek up the tree was fruitless until I saw one of the scallops was still clinging to the pine needles. It squirmed and snapped, but it seemed some tree snap had forced its tongue to stay put. I carefully reached for it, but then a octopus swooped in and snatched the poor creature before my very eyes. I'm still extremely proud of that. That was like months ago. This is way back in February, so But yeah, I'm still like very proud of that because, well, the mention of the octopus in the beginning, and then all of a sudden, bam, octopus shows up at the end to eat one of the scallops. Mm. Oh yeah, and then like right afterwards it followed with this. I don't know what to caption this. Rayman is just eating sushi off of Pomni. Simple as that. I still don't know how to feel about this. Have you guys ever seen Captain Laserhawk? It's a pretty good show. I watched it like, oh god, how long ago was that? Jesus. I think it was when I still lived with Dad. Yeah, that was forever ago. It's a pretty good show. Really good animation, interesting characters. It's really fucking dark though. I'll warn you that it's very dark. But to be honest, the only thing I cared about in the show was just the inexplicable inclusion of Rayman here. I don't understand why Rayman had to be part of it, but he had a very interesting B plot throughout the show. Or I'm not sure if it was an A or B plot, but he was very interesting. I'll give him that. I won't spoil what he does or what happens, but well, he definitely does something like this. Of course, Pomni's not included, but you know, I just remember randomly coming across that on Reddit and just finding it really fucking funny for some reason. What else? I think that's okay. I think that's all for now. Goodbye.